Super excited for today's video. This is the first video in a video series with a reoccurring guest, my LinkedIn friend, Ronan Pesser. Ronan heads up sales. He's the chief growth officer at a startup called Stylo out in California. He's doing some big things with this company, and he's been posting a lot of content on LinkedIn that has been going viral. Cold call recordings of his that have been going absolutely viral on LinkedIn. So I hit him up, and he is more than happy to hop on some videos sharing best practices, tips, strategies, how to open your cold calls, how to close your calls out, tonality, pacing, all that good stuff that I know is going to help you guys out, because I know everybody watching these videos is making cold calls and everybody's trying to get better. Ronan is the best cold caller that I know. And in this video, we're going to break down his most viral cold call recording. Went viral on LinkedIn. We're going to break it down from start to finish. So super pumped for this series, and I know you guys are going to love this first video. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified every Tuesday and Thursday when we post new content on this channel. Thanks a lot, guys. Let's get into it. Ronan, my man, I cannot thank you enough for hopping in and, number one, dropping some knowledge to the viewers on this cold call breakdown that we're going to go through, but hopping on future videos where you're going to be talking about, the best cold call openers you're using, objection handling, the strategies and thought process you use throughout the calls, how you close your calls to book meetings. And I don't mean to gas you up, man, but when you posted that video on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, I'll give it a listen. And I was amazed, man. I mean, I told you this before we hit record. This is, in my opinion, and I've listened to hundreds and hundreds of live cold call recordings. This is, I think, the best live cold call recording I've ever heard. And I'm hoping when we post it to YouTube, it's the best live cold call recording on YouTube. But it was awesome, man. And I'm just curious what kind of feedback you got in the DMs, in the comment section of that post when you posted it on LinkedIn.
Yeah, Matt, first of all, thanks so much. Really kind of you to say. I think it's, in my experience, it became the call that broke my DMs, because after that, it was just like, just getting killed. I don't know if you know a whole lot about how the LinkedIn algorithms go, but when you upload a video, you usually don't get a lot of eyeballs on it. And that became one of the ones that for me hit viral. So it really got shared a lot. I just kept hearing people say, wow, I can't believe you got her to book the meeting. And oh my gosh, that laugh is amazing. So there were just things about the nuance of the call, the tonality, and the fact that I don't want to ruin the surprise here, but the way it ended was fairly unusual in and of itself.
No, it was awesome. It was awesome. And a couple quick questions for you. Like, how long have you been making cold calls for?
Yeah, man. Oh shit. Like I don't know if I can swear on this, but
No, you're good. You're good. I swear all the time. Go for it.
I've been calling since 2015. I got started as a lowly SDR, making calls for a company that I absolutely love and adore called Smartling. Was an SDR, got promoted quickly to team lead, to manager, senior manager, went over to security scorecard, director, senior director, and now I'm doing my own thing as the chief growth officer over at Stylo, where I'm basically doing all of sales and marketing. But I've been at it for the better part of 7, going on 8 years now.
So thousands of calls,
Oh yeah, I have no idea what number
tens
we're
of
at.
thousands. And I take it you practice and role play daily.
Yeah, I have a really quick warm-up routine. It's easy.
Okay.
Anyone can steal this, and you totally should steal this.
Perfect.
I grab one other person, and we do what I call my 7 layers of hell. You essentially role play, and the other person gives you 7 objections, rapid fire. So you get into your opener, and then you just go objection, handle, objection, handle, objection, handle, and you just keep going. And the goal is to get through the framework of objection handling because that's the bulk of it. And then I have a second warm up that I sometimes do for tonality only. And that one, you should steal this exercise too. It's a wonderful one to do. You take a short phrase. Hey, Matt, Ronan here. How you doing? And you try to say it with 10, maybe 15 different tones. So can you say it sounding
Oh,
angry? Can you say it sounding bored? Can you say it sounding excited? And what that does is it just warms up your ability to control your tonality and convey meaning over tone. And I think that's a huge part of just the openers and getting past that, like the first few seconds to show confidence.
huge, huge. And what I would say, man, I mean, I've heard a few of your calls now, and that's the biggest takeaway that I've gotten out of your cold call recordings is your tonality. and is your pacing. You never get off your game, and it's interesting to hear that you have, you're warming up, you're practicing, you've been doing this for 7 years, you've made tens of thousands of cold calls, but you're treating this like a sport, right? The frequency of calls, the more practice you put in, you got to warm up before you hop on the phone. You can't be warming up on the first prospect that picks up the phone that day. And I'm having a couple calls with or conversations, Ronan, with people tomorrow who are struggling with cold calling. And I'm like, okay, how long you been making cold calls for? 2 weeks, a week. I'm like, yo, it's going to take you a long, long time to get comfortable with this frequency of calls. You got to put the reps in and you got to
Yeah,
practice.
for
Treat it like
sure.
a sport. Treat it like it's a sport.
It's the best analogy. I mean, that's why we love sports and sales, right? Like if you're not going to practice in the game in the moment and
Nope.
think about it from a financial and like how expensive is it to get in front of a live connect with the right person? All of that work, all the tech that goes into it, the data, everything, and you're just going to throw that away without being prepped for it. So I totally agree with you. If you want to warm up with live calls, go pick the worst prospects and dial
Get
them
a bad
for,
list.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's one other thing I love doing to get past if I'm having a hard confidence day, which happens to even the best callers. You just change your mindset and you say, all right, I'm going to take a piece of paper and a pencil and I'm going to go for 10 no's. I'm just going to get 10 no's in a row.
Go.
And if I can
Yep.
get 10 no's, it actually builds you up. And pretty quickly, you're like, all right, hey, I can go for yes now. Like, I can get
Yeah.
it.
And
Um,
it's not a big deal. I got told no. Not a big deal.
exactly,
I'm still
exactly.
alive.
Move on.
Yeah.
Next play.
Dude, awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. So, guys, big takeaway here when you're listening to this cold call recording, just take note of number one, the pacing, and number two, the tonality. All right, let me share my screen here, Ronan, and we're
Let's
going to
do it.
play this recording and we're going to stop and start it and break down the call from start to finish. Can you see my screen, Ronan?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
All right, perfect. Let me move my head out of the way and your head out of the way. And let me hit play. And as you can see here, guys, 836 likes. This is very rare for a video on LinkedIn, as Ronan mentioned. I mean, sometimes you'll see written posts that get that many likes, but never, ever videos. So this is definitely went viral. I'm going to put Ronan's LinkedIn in the description of this video. So please, please, please go and connect with him, follow him, like and engage in his content. And Ronan, mostly you post sales content on LinkedIn, correct?
Yeah, I've got two tracks. It's
Okay.
SDR content for tactical advice for SDRs, usually around cold calling, but sometimes I touch on best practices for email. And then the second track is for SDR leaders and folks who want to break into leadership. I share a lot of tactics and best advice for being able to build teams of SDRs who are regularly hitting six figures a year.
Beautiful. Awesome. Definitely connect with Ronan, guys. I know most of you are SDRs. We have some AEs, but Ronan, most of the audience is SDR. So these cold call breakdown videos are going to help them out
Right
a
on.
great deal. All right, let's get into this call, guys. One of the best calls. This is the best call I've ever heard live. All right, let's hit play.
Hello. Hey, this is Ask who's calling? Yeah, it's Ronan. And this is a cold call. Want to roll the dice?
All right, so I got to stop it there, Ronan. So I am a big proponent of permission-based openers. Big proponent. I've talked about permission-based openers on this channel in length. We provided several examples. This is a great example of using humor, not taking it too seriously with the permission-based opener. Can you walk us through like what your thought process is with cold call openers? Because some people will just go right into the reason for the call, or what I hate the most. Hey, Ronan, it's Matt with XYZ Company. How are you today? That's, I think, the worst cold call opener of all time. But I'm a huge, huge fan of permission-based openers, and I've noticed a trend in the videos that you posted on LinkedIn, these cold call recording videos, that you've always used a permission-based opener. So can you walk through what your thought process is behind the openers that you use?
Yeah, you bet. I'm going to say something that a lot of people probably don't agree with on the actual opener. Um, but first, to answer your question with the PBOs, you definitely at some point early on need to be getting them to say, sure, I'll listen to you. There's two really good ways to do that. The first one in this example is a little bit more advanced. I wouldn't start here if you're new.
Okay.
This one is just for humor of like, hey, want to roll the dice? But the most common one that I hear being used, and it works super well, is like, hey, Ronan from Stylo, you actually weren't expecting this call. Mind if I take half a minute to share why I'm reaching out to you? It's simple, it's straightforward, and the person on the other end usually does one of two things. Okay, go ahead, or like, who is this? What's this about? Which is another way of saying, go ahead. But the other
Now,
thing, yeah, go ahead.
now I was just gonna. How often are you changing up your openers? Because I've noticed you've used a couple different openers on some different videos.
To be honest with you, probably every 2, 3 weeks I try something else, and honestly, it's just because
Go.
I get tired of the old one. So
Yep.
this is my somewhat controversial bit is I don't think your opener matters. I don't
There
think
you go.
what you
Okay.
say matters. I think it's how you say it. My most
Yes.
common one, currently that I'm using is just this. I pick up the phone and I go, "Hey, Matt."
Hey, Ronan.
It's like, so I got you, right? You're already
Yep.
in. I sounded
Yep.
like I know you. I sounded like a friend.
Exactly.
9 out of 10 times the person goes, "Oh, hey," or "Oh, hey, who's this?" And then I go to my permission-based opener. So then I go, "Oh, it's Ronan from Stylo. You actually weren't expecting this. It is a cold call. You want to roll the
Yep.
dice?" Or, "Hey, it's Ronan from Stylo. You weren't expecting this. Mind if I share why I'm calling in half a minute? You can let me know if it's relevant or not."
Got it. So it's more for you, it's more important how you say it, the tonality and pacing than the actual words. And I completely agree with you. Completely
Totally.
agree with you. So, guys, that's the biggest takeaway here with this opener. And I'm just going to play it one more time and then we'll go through the rest of the call.
And this is a cold call. Want to roll the dice?
I appreciate you letting me know. I'm actually on a conference call, but I really appreciate your transparency. So go.
So she appreciates the transparency. You got her to laugh. I mean, this is the perfect way to start the call. I can't think of a better way. You've already got her on your side. I mean, awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff.
I'm batting 1,000 anytime I get them laughing at this point. It's not often. It's pretty rare where you actually get them laughing, especially like that, which is what makes this one such a fun one to listen to. But once you get them laughing, all the guards come down, all the walls come down, and they're open to listening to you. And now you've got to be able to
Yeah.
deliver that value prop in a way that's interesting and hooks them.
And she appreciates the transparency. What that tells me is she gets cold called a lot, and
Bingo.
the other sellers are not transparent. They might be trying to trick her. Who knows what they're doing on that cold call? But you've already separated yourself from the competition just with your permission-based opener and how you delivered it with the opener. So awesome stuff. And now she's giving you permission to go ahead here, even though she's on a conference call.
Yeah, which is hilarious. I mean, I've done that too, but it's hilarious how often these leaders that we call in executives, they do sometimes 6 or 8 hours of calls all day long, and they will tell you they're in a meeting or on a call, and it might be legitimate, but they also might be okay to take a 5 minute call with you because they don't care about the meeting in the moment.
That's it. That's it. All right, let's see how you transition from getting permission here.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. Are you already using a ticketing tool like Zendesk or Salesforce today for support?
I am.
So this is what I like the most probably about this call outside of the tonality and the pacing, Ronan, is you treat your cold calls like a mini discovery call. What I've noticed is you're not going into some pitch where you're just talking at the prospect, talking at the person that picked up the phone for 30 to 60 minutes. You're asking questions because you're trying to find out if what you do is a fit either now or down the road to figure out if it's even worth your time to book a meeting. That's what I like the most.
Exactly
It's a
right.
mini discovery session. You're asking a ton of questions to understand the situation.
Totally. And what you'll notice is this is a closed-ended question, and that's intentional. I'm actually looking for them to either disqualify themselves right here and right now. Um, One way they disqualify themselves for my specific product is they'll say, no, we don't use a ticketing tool. We do call-based only support, and we don't deal with call centers. So if that's the case, I'm like, great, have a nice day. If they say, yes, we're using a tool, yes, Zendesk or Salesforce, then I go into the next bit. And what you're about to hear is fully inspired by one of my favorite people out there, Bilal Batrawi, and he talks
Yes.
about a mic drop moment. So pay attention to this next question.
Okay.
Do you have any way, and this isn't a gotcha, but do you have any way of knowing which customer left feeling the most frustrated out of all the interactions this week?
It's good.
Hold on. I want to pause it there for a second. What you put in there, let me just get the exact phrase.
Or Salesforce today for support?
I am.
Do you have any way, and this isn't a gotcha?
And this isn't a gotcha. I've noticed you've said that in some other of your cold call recordings. Why? I kind of have a sense of why you do it, but why do you include that in that mic drop question that you just explained there?
you got to be careful to not make your prospects feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
And if you say something and you sound like, oh, you're not doing this thing, moron, you're not going to make any friends with that. So better to catch flies with honey than vinegar. And that's why I try to disarm the statement by saying, I'm not trying to get you here or anything. And that also, I've noticed, it also helps build up the question a little bit more to get them paying attention a little bit more to it and hopefully really thinking about what I'm about to ask.
That's awesome. And any more on Bilal's mic drop question?
Yeah, so the question is intended to ask them a challenging question that relates to how your product solves a problem. So it takes a little bit of reverse engineering to get to this question, but once you start doing it, it becomes a little bit easier to develop these questions in a script. The idea is really simple. Can I ask something that challenges the status quo of how most people do what they do today? So in our case, most people use surveys like CSAT or NPS to see how their customers are doing. Of course, surveying sucks. No one answers surveys. We've developed AI that uses sentiment analysis on all of your data, so you see how all your customers are feeling at every moment, which is it's a new way of doing something. And so I'm asking a new way question, which is, do you have any way of knowing out of all the cases you got, maybe you got 10,000 this month, which customer left feeling the most frustrated out of all of those? And so most people in that kind of question will either answer with the old way of doing it, or they'll say, no, I don't. And very rarely, if they're using a competitor, they'll say, yeah, I have something in place that actually happens to be a competing tool.
Got it. I got to start using that mic drop. I don't use any sort of mic drop questions in my cold call openers, guys. So actually, in the comment section, put together your mic drop question based on what you sell, and me and Ronan will go in the comment section and we will rate them.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And
closing off.
maybe even rework some of them for you.
There we go. That's even better. Not rate, rework. There first.
Yeah,
All right,
but do you have any way
continue
of
this call here.
knowing which customer left feeling the most frustrated out of all the interactions this week?
That's a good question. I think I do, maybe not directly, but if I piece together some data from an AI tool I'm using, I might.
Oh, okay, cool. In short, what we're doing at Stylo, and the reason for my call was to see if you were curious to learn more about how we track sentiment in real time.
So what you were going for here, and this is something that we talk about on this channel all the time, is you're going for interest. So we always say go for interest, not the meeting, in the cold calls and the cold emails. Once you gain interest, then you could go for the meeting and ask for the meeting. So was that kind of what you were going for there, is to gain a bit of her interest first?
That's exactly right. I'm trying to get her curiosity, which usually leads to interest. And yeah, it's the same idea. The precursor to interest is like, are you curious about this thing enough to explore it? The best way I found to do that is to, again, challenge the old way of doing it versus your new way. In my case, I happen to represent a cutting edge technology. If you work at any tech startup, you're usually fighting an old versus new way narrative, and you're in the new way category. And it's a great use case for a script like this.
Perfect. Curiosity before interest. I like that.
Things like frustration, urgency from any customer interaction. That way you can get a sense of where the fires might be burning before they actually get put on your desk.
And how is that measured?
Great question.
So whenever I hear a prospect ask me any sort of question like that, I know they're interested.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
engaged. Awesome.
In short, what we're doing is we're using natural language processing to first tag and categorize all of your interactions for you, so you don't have to have your agents do it or rely on the accuracy of that. And then second, we layer sentiment analysis on top of it based off of the model that we've built, which requires no training, works from day one.
So that's interesting. Is this similar to Gong, where Gong would be used more
Good old Gong.
on the sales side? Similar to that?
Kind of, yeah, but really focus on customer support. Sort of a health score, but for support and for a very functional purpose to reduce costs of support and try to prevent support-related churn.
Okay. Well, you have my attention, and I really appreciate your transparency. So I'd love to learn more. Do you think I could get a demo?
So she asked you for the meeting, man.
That does not happen often. That does not happen often.
It doesn't happen often, but the way you navigated the call from start to finish, it was, I mean, amazing, man. And you're right, it doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, it's amazing. And she's asking for time on your calendar. You never
That's
even
right.
had to ask for a meeting. Never had to ask to show a demo.
The best part
Awesome
about it is
stuff.
this was a key account of ours, Fortune 500 company, really like big account that we'd love to land. And the first meeting went really great, and then all the things from there for the sales process. But the big thing that stood out to me about how this went down is if you notice what you had mentioned earlier, Matt, the pace and tone are really controlled and confident.
Never got sped up.
So many people speed up, jumble words. You'll also notice I try to do something with the volume of my voice when I'm trying to ask a question that's supposed to be provocative, like the mic drop one. I sort of lower my voice a little bit, which psychologically triggers a known psychological shortcut, a heuristic that means, oh, this is important, I should listen. And so by using that known psychological shortcut that many of our brains naturally are wired to pay attention to, you slow down. It's called slow and low. You slow down and lower the tone of your voice a little bit. You can't use it a lot, but it indicates I'm about to ask you something important. That helps land the question and make it a little bit more punchy.
Did you get that technique from Chris Voss? That sounds like a Chris Voss technique.
I've certainly seen it reinforced a lot by him, but I happened to be a
Okay.
psych major in college and studied a lot about social psychology, which has been, who knew it would help me all these years later.
That makes sense, man. That makes sense. Awesome stuff. Ronan, anything else regarding this call? Any other tips and strategies that we didn't discuss for
I'll
this specific recording?
Yeah, I'll just share the last thing here is a lot of people want to rush to try this at home, especially the roll the dice opener. I'll remind you, it's not as much about the clever opener as much as it is on your tone and delivery. You got to sound confident. So practice, practice, practice. Like if you can get confident, slow down. And with this specific opener, it's about comedic timing. So the timing in the tone is huge. It's not just, hey, Matt, Ronan, you want to roll the dice? It's like, no, hey Matt, Ronan from Stylo here. This is a cold call. You want to roll the dice?
With a little laughter and a smile on your face when you say it? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff. Like I said, I mean, this is one of the best recordings that I've heard. And you have other recordings. You have another recording where you handle 3 objections on the cold call. So maybe that'll be the next video we bring back.
Yeah, let's do it.
That one might, Ronan, that one might be better than this one. You handle 3 objections, 3 of the toughest objections you get on a cold call, and you booked a meeting. And the way you ask for the meeting at the end is a way that we always talk about, going for no rather than yes. So maybe on the next video we'll break that one down. But Ronan, I cannot thank you enough for hopping in here and dropping some
My
knowledge.
pleasure. Yeah, Matt, thank you so much for holding space for this and making it happen.
Oh my God, you're going to be my cold call guy. Like I was saying, I don't do a ton of cold calls. I maybe make 20 a day. So going forward, I don't feel really comfortable talking about cold calling or providing tips if I'm not doing a ton of it. And you are 1,000 times better than me at this. So I know this is going to help everyone out on this channel that's subscribed. And guys, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, like the video, look out for these videos every Tuesday and Thursday. But I kind of have a sense, Ronan, that this is going to be probably the most popular playlist on the channel going forward. So really appreciate your time, man. Again, guys, connect with Ronan in the description. The link to his LinkedIn will be there. So click on that link, follow, connect with him, engage in his content. But thanks so much, man. And let us know in the comment section below that you guys love this video so much that we need to bring Ronan back for some more cold call videos. Ronan,
Right
thanks a lot,
on.
man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.